Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, who made me a liar on Twitter, Paddy BMTG.
I did make you a liar on Twitter. It's just delayed. It's like it's like the Undertaker, the Undertaker gif, just like out of the coffin.
So, Paddy,
Paddy
you were feeling pretty sick. You're feeling a little bit better now, so we're recording our top 5 things from 2023 episode a little bit late. But I'm glad you're feeling better. I don't know how this got removed from the show notes, but I just want to congratulate you. I think this is this your first time winning the Heezy championship? Second time?
It's like 2 or 3. I can't remember.
Well, congratulations on
At
being
least
this.
the second time.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you had the 4th best team, and you took it down. Yeah.
Hey man, CD Lamb's real good.
CD Lamb was good this year. I'm happy for you though. You put in a lot of work in fantasy, and I really like it when people put in a lot of work in stuff, and it pays off for them. So congratulations to you. At last podcast, obviously we already said congratulations to your wife, but it was cool to have all 4 of me, you, your wife, my wife is like the top 4 seeds going into the playoffs. That was
pretty sweet.
Sick, so.
Yeah, she was, and there's a little bit of conversation where, like, man, she was really wanted to win. Like, she wanted to beat me so bad.
Sure.
That, like, she's trying to go through all the different ways that Isaiah likely could lose points.
That's great.
That way, it just, like, that was some of the best.
If you want to talk,
I wish her best luck.
If you want to talk about fantasy football, if you want to talk about fantasy basketball, daily fantasy is kind of what the fantasy channel will be about. Moving forward, I get into daily fantasy basketball around this time of the year every year. Patty B, and like we can't do a daily fantasy league because of the gambling laws in different states with some of our listeners, but it is something that I like to kind of be a part of. So if you want to talk about fantasy, sports, or sports in general, and nerd out about those, we do have a Discord, a channel in our Discord for that, as well as just like this podcast and some of the things that we're going to talk about today. However, you have the nerd fact of the week this week, Patty B. Take it away.
Dude, yeah. So, time of recording, we are January 2nd. Yeah, I was like, I traveled back in time. Back to the future, baby. January 2nd is the date of recording. And so I wanted to do like a kind of nerdy fact about New Year's and New Year's Eve. So Julius Caesar is actually the man who was responsible for establishing New Year's Day as January 1st with the Julian calendar. And then also with regards to New Year's resolutions, it's as old as tradition. It goes back to ancient Babylonians in Mesopotamia, dating back to 2000 BC. We can keep track of time and making New Year's resolutions for a long time. Still can't keep them.
I have an opinion. You ready for this? We throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away. Have I said this before on the podcast?
I'm not sure.
I think we throw it away, make every month 30 days, and have the 365th day be New Year's Day. That is a holiday. And then every month is 30 days, and we don't have 31 days, we don't have 28 days. Every month is 30 days. And it would also...
5 days. You mean 366?
No. Fun fact.
It covers for
12 doesn't go into 365, Patty B.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
You said 365 days, and I was just making sure.
Right. So you need the additional day.
Correct.
You need you need a day that is not a part of a month.
Right.
Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page. Anyway. So
yeah. I'm making sure because you said 365 as if you're already adding a day. I was making sure.
No, but you still do, and if you still want leap years, New Year's Day every 4 years is 2 days long.
You could just add 1 day, and it just removes leap year. and does the same thing.
How does that work? You're telling me 366 it divides by 12?
Pretty sure. Like it's the reason we add a day
it's 30.
every 4
It's
years.
30.5.
Okay.
Don't mess with me here, Paddy B.
I figured there was a way though. I think because there's 4 months. How many months have 31?
Anyway,
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting way off topic here. I also, in addition to that, so there's a couple reasons to this. One, it makes every week 7 weeks. New Year's Day does not have a day that lands on a weekly calendar. You make it its own special day. So, like, every week is Sunday. Like the first always lands on a Sunday. So on and so forth. The other reason that you can do this, for what it's worth, and the other things that I would do in addition to this in America, is that I would also make President's Day. I would also add I would also add a week to the NFL schedule and remove and give everyone an extra bye. And that way, President's Day is the day that the day after the Super Bowl, so that everybody has the Monday after the Super Bowl off. And now we have a perfect calendar. Everybody gets the Monday after the Super Bowl off. And if you don't love it, then I don't know what to tell you. Vote for me for Supreme Ruler of the Universe.
You bet. I'll do it.
All right. No other housekeeping today. I do love that nerd fact. I think Julius Caesar, for what it's worth, is something that people have differing opinions on, about whether they've read whether they've read Shakespeare, whether they've read history, and it's really funny to hear people talk about. I mean, this year, obviously, or last year in 2023, the Roman Empire was a hot topic. So, that is not going to be our main topic today. Today, we are talking about our top 5 things from 2023. We're going to popcorn it a little bit, but I want to talk about my biggest disappointment first. I want to get it out of the way because this is something that was talked about a lot on the podcast, Paddy B. A lot.
Okay.
It was probably the most anticipated thing from the podcast, and that is the video game Starfield. So for those who know, Starfield was promised this big, epic universe where anything was possible, and what was delivered was Skyrim in space. Which, don't get me wrong, is a fun game. But one of the problems that that this specific company has when making video games is they're not very good at storytelling. And so there is a lack of fast travel when you get to a planet. There is a lack of, I don't know, there's a lack of soul. They focus so much on the graphics. They focus so much on the combat. They focus, there is a complete lack of soul in this video game what you are supposed to care about, why you're supposed to care about it. And I don't know. I've put a couple hours into it. I'll probably play it more. But I just want to say that last year I said that this was my most anticipated thing for this year. And oftentimes when you anticipate something, this one fell a little flat for me. I'm being a little harsh. I think that the game is a fun game. It's a good game. It's just it is just Skyrim in space, though. What about you?
Gotcha. So for me, it's kind of the two big comic book franchises both had a big kind of floppy year this year, with just overall, right? So the MCU in general just kind of felt pretty lost, and it's kind of capped at the end with them moving on from Jonathan Majors after all that nonsense, and then the switch to Gunn's
pause,
DCU.
Pause. Clip that, people. He said switch to. Would now make us trend. Sorry, go ahead.
Is that in the hashtags? right?
Yeah.
It's like that's
Hashtag
how you
switch
get
two.
the TikTok
Sorry,
going.
go
Switch
ahead.
two.
Go
All
ahead.
right. So the other one was with James Gunn and the DCU, right? That transition. The Flash kind of like just wasn't that great of a movie, and like felt out of place. I haven't seen Aquaman 2 yet, but I imagine that also kind of has that kind of feel.
I haven't seen either of those films, but I got really mixed reviews on Flash. Some people really loved it from like a I don't know, like an interesting take perspective, and some people were like, it's just a bad movie that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a shame that I'm more with the latter party, that it was like a movie that didn't make too much sense, and it sucked because that was them trying out bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman, which was like if the movie had one shining thing, it was Michael Keaton's Batman. So so that's kind of my biggest disappointment of the year.
Well, let's dive into our favorite things. I'll give my quick honorable mentions. I did finally get to watch the Mario movie, something I wanted to do all year long, and it was good. Like it was fun to watch it with my kids. I'm actually kind of glad that I watched it with them rather than going to the movie by myself. I have the same complaint. Like the reason it doesn't make my top 5 is some of the most special moments were in the trailers, and I really hate it when movies do that. So, like, Rainbow Road was in the trailer. Donkey Kong getting fire powers was in the trailer. I don't know. I feel like most of the moments that would have been the most hype for me were spoiled. Not by like people. Nobody spoiled the movie for me. Not that there was like a ton to spoil, but like the trailer itself spoiled some of the hypest moments of the film, and for that reason, I think it knocks it out of my top 5. My other honorable mention is the Eras Tour movie specifically. It was, I got to go with my wife, and it was one of our very few dates that we've had since our daughter was born, and I have been a Taylor Swift fan since her debut album. Like I bought the debut album. I had the version that everybody's like, ooh. It's been Taylor Swift has been a huge part of my life. She was my 5th most listened to artist last year, according to Apple Music. And the funny thing about the Eras Tour movie, I think, was that it was such a unique experience where we had a whole row in front of us that moved down to the front of the theater to dance during the movie. And like, it was funny because when the movie was announced, I thought, I really don't want people singing and dancing during this. Like, I want to experience the movie, but it actually made it a more memorable experience. Well, we'll talk more about that later. What are your honorable mentions?
Yeah. So my 2 honorable mentions will start with Little Mermaid live action. It was one of Disney's better projects, even though it got a lot of backlash from horrible people. And I loved the music, and the casting was fantastic. Just couldn't quite crack my the top 5.
Alicia loved it. Like, it was like one of her favorite things from this year.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that you're right about the casting. What's really interesting is like, the changes from the original movie. I really like how Ursula dies. Like all of the changes were kind of cool. Yeah, and I also think that like, I don't know, I liked the whole thing. Like it was. I am not anti-Disney live action like most people are. Like I liked The Lion King. I really liked Aladdin, and I really liked this. So
you did?
I loved Aladdin.
Interesting. Oh, I mean, to each their own.
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
start with your number 5?
I've got one more honorable mention. It's actually D&D Honor Among Thieves. That is another movie that I don't know. I watched it a couple times. I watched it on my plane ride out to Los Angeles again. It was this nice little niche thing that we got to see a little bit in the like Magic set. They did a secret lair for it, so I had some connections there. It was fun to see a live action representation of D&D. I don't know. There's need to be mentioned.
You know, I really have wanted to see that movie. I'm just going to be clear with people. Movies do not make my list in this year because I haven't been able to watch movies this year. Like watched the Mario movie when it came to Netflix. I've been to theater maybe 3 times since 2020. So
yeah.
I haven't mentioned that like I haven't seen Barbie yet. Like it came to, I think it's on Max. It's either on Max or Prime Video right now for me, and like it's on my list of things to watch. Spider-Verse has been on one of the streaming services for like 3 months, and I haven't watched it. So,
Gotcha.
Well, you do what you can with the time you have, man. Well, I'll go into my number 5. Probably going to be the most controversial thing on our list. I loved Witcher Season 3. Loved it. I thought it was so good. I thought the acting was amazing. Obviously, I'll miss Henry Cavill. We haven't even reviewed Season 2 or Season 3 yet, so I won't go too far into this one. But I loved it. I thought it was really good. Obviously you personally like just finished Witcher 3, the video game. I've been listening to audiobooks, and I don't care if something deviates from the source material in the way that Witcher's doing it as much. When it's kind of like the Lord of the Rings TV show, the Rings of Power TV show, where it's like I get to separate it in my head. Like the video game is not the TV show type of thing. And so for that reason, like I really enjoyed it. I think that Henry Cavill's amazing. It's really funny. I'm watching The Tudors right now, which is a Showtime show where he plays the best friend of King Henry, and it's so funny to see him like as what is like equates to like a child when he's now been like Superman and Geralt of Rivia. So, what's your number 5? Or do you have anything to say on The Witcher Season 3?
Yeah, I agree. Witcher Season 3 is great. I'll be excited to review that. And Season 2. You kind of mentioned it. I dove into the Witcher 3 video game, and I beat there's a point in the story where it's like, hey, you should save your game because they're like things progress significantly. Like you finish the story at this point, right? So I've gone back and done that a second time of like doing some of the quests that like closed off when I didn't do them before beating the game. So that was interesting. So love The Witcher, and it's kind of a character that you kind of just do whatever with. Like you have a little more liberty to deviate from the source material because
it's a little sandboxy, right? Like you can put The Witcher in any situation that you really want to. There is like some parameters, right? There's established relationships and things like that you want to stay true to, but I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, I can't speak for Henry Cavill. Like, I don't know if he knows something that I don't know. He also probably is a bigger fan of the video games and the source material than I am. But I thoroughly enjoyed the season. So
yeah, it is going to be weird without him, though, for sure.
What is your number 5?
My number 5 is something that we were supposed to go see together. It is now on Max as well. You should add this to your list. We kind of talked about how yours are very much not movies. I think all of mine are movies in some way, shape, or form. Because I like that is something that my wife and I don't have kids yet, and so we do make time to go see a bunch of movies. And that was Blue Beetle. Was really hyped for this. I love Sholo from Cobra Kai, and the fact that he got this opportunity to star in a superhero movie. It seemed like it was just a great fit, and it was really really fun, important, and I kind of talked about how the DCU is kind of in a transition phase. I'm glad that I think he's going to be able to survive the transition and make it into James Gunn's new universe.
Blue Beetle's really interesting because everyone that saw it, like Twitter, if you saw it on Twitter, they're like, you need to go see this, you need to go see this. And it just like bombed at the box office. So I'm like really curious how it does on Max, because everybody was like, it's like the best superhero movie of the year. So,
oh yeah, hands down. Yep.
So it actually is on my list. There are actually a couple things that I'm going to watch without Devonair when I have time to like when she's like, she has Hogwarts Legacy to play, and I think while she's playing Hogwarts Legacy, I'll like grab an iPad and watch Blue Beetle, the Batman. I haven't seen yet either. So, but let's go on to my number 4, and I debated where this sat, like whether it was going to be an honorable mention or not. But my number 4 is Ahsoka, and it is so funny how much division there is in the Star Wars fandom about different projects. It feels like none of the projects, you ask one person and they'll have different opinions about every single project than another person about every single project. And Ahsoka, I full-heartedly admit on this podcast, I was really sad about the casting. Like, I think I said it when it happened, that I was like, I cannot believe they stole this from the voice actor. That's wild. But the other casting was, and that casting was great. Like, she did a great job. I don't want to take anything away. But the casting of this overall was really impressive. I thought everyone on the project did a great job. You're going to see even more of a return of Hayden Christensen. I honestly, I think that's really why it makes my list. I was torched by boomers and Gen Xers for loving the prequels as a kid. Like, I was like, no. I mean, at one time I told people Hayden Christensen was my favorite actor. And it's really funny looking at things now where people literally go and they're like, no, the reason he delivers the lines the way he does is because he's mimicking the way that Darth Vader said his lines. Like he's the cadence and the way that he does things is to mimic Vader, so that it's a natural transition. But people were like, "Oh, he's a bad actor." That's not true. The dude was an Emmy-nominated actor beforehand. I don't know. Sorry, I don't need to go off on like a Hayden Christensen love tangent here, but I think that Ahsoka did a few things. One, it's doing a really good job of setting up whatever this Mandoverse movie is going to be. Ahsoka apparently is getting season 2, which I don't know if it like surprises me. I just don't know what season 2 would be. Like, it felt set up for a movie.
Getting back, right?
Well, right, but it feels set up for whatever the movie is. So I don't know. I just don't know if it's happening before. Like, we know a Mandoverse movie is coming. We don't want to go too deep into this.
Sure.
And, like, I thought that this would be part, like, I don't know. I guess I thought that'd be part of what the Mandoverse movie is. Honestly, the acting was great. the storylines and the threads left were great. I thought the show would get a spin-off for what it's worth. I didn't think it would get a second season. The
like the Ezra spinoff.
No, I actually thought it would be. Sorry, I can't remember the name of the Dark Jedi off the top of my head right now.
Darth Raven? Or,
no. I'm talking about the one in the show.
Who like
Balin
was.
I thought Balin was going to get a spinoff.
Interesting.
And honestly, like I don't know. There's so much good stuff here. Hera was great. Ahsoka was great. Sabine was great. It was full of really great moments. It looks like Ivana, who plays Shin, she was fantastic in this show.
Yes,
like the cast was so good. And I think that one thing that's kind of different than my Starfield, I was like, my expectations are too high for Starfield. I try to go into Star Wars, and I've said this on the show before, with zero expectations. Like I just want to go in and escape into Star Wars. And this show was a really good escape. And I also tried not to listen to fan theories. Like I try to like, if they show up on my TikTok, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like I don't care what your fan theory is about the next 3 episodes or the end of the story. I just want to enjoy this. And it makes stuff like this a lot better. So Ahsoka clears for me. Number 4. What about you?
Yeah, so for me, it was something that I wasn't very confident on, or I'd heard things, and then I was pleasantly surprised. Is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, The Mutant Mayhem. The last few iterations of the Turtles, I have not been like a huge fan of. It's maybe it was too made for kids. Like obviously these characters are going to be made for kids all the time, but like I don't know, there's something about this time around that really drew me in. The soundtrack was great, casting was great, having this Ice Cube as the villain was amazing. It was so good.
It's funny. I've heard only good things about this, but I've heard so little about this. I am gonna be honest. I don't know that I've watched a Turtles movie since Ooze.
Whoa.
I mean, that's not really true because I've watched the third one, but I pretend it doesn't exist. But
okay, sure.
I like Ooze was so good that I don't do the Turtle movies anymore.
I gotcha.
And I also don't know that like Michael Bay was who I wanted making Turtle movies. So I also think I just like avoided that.
Yeah, I loved those ones were okay. Like I think they were better than what people like gave it credit for. Like I love Stephen Amell's Casey Jones.
Obviously, that sounds great. I for what it's worth, I don't even know people's opinions of those. I just had already been Michael Bay'd out a little bit, like just from the Transformers movies, and I was like, I don't know that I need to say a Turtle Michael Bay movie. Like, I feel like I don't know. It's probably a really good popcorn flick. Like Michael Bay movies are really good popcorn flicks, but I just you only have. I think that like. I don't know. I can watch big robots fight each other. I can watch mutant stuff fight each other, but I just the Turtles are a little deeper than that to me. Like if you think about like one of the cool things about the Turtles is they have this really good blend of comedy and seriousness about them, and I just didn't see Michael Bay doing that. Also, I don't know why we turn this into like a review of a movie I didn't see, but that's why I haven't. That's why I haven't seen turtle movies since, the 90s.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're kind of spot on a little bit about that, where like um, the the ones that were done by Michael Bay are more popcorny, but it also, I think for those, it kind of depends on your opinion of Megan Fox and like how, if you like her style of acting for like April O'Neil. That was another big like if you like the movie or not. But then like the TV shows and stuff after that was kind of like more leaned into the comedy side for kids, and I didn't think had that appropriate balance of the seriousness and some of the other movies had. But this one was great. It really hit on those notes.
Nice. I love to hear that.
Yeah,
you gotta love it when a franchise you love does something you love. Speaking of that,
yeah,
dude, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna end up higher. Like if I go back and listen to this episode in this, like at the end of this year, this will end up higher. So for Christmas, I got Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and it's like a complicated story. I was missing a job a lot of this year. And so, and there were a lot of times where I wanted to buy Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And my wife was like, I really want to buy it for you. I really want to buy it for you. So like we were doing it for my birthday. And like, I got fired the week before my birthday. Or not fired, I got laid off the week before my birthday. And then there was like Father's Day where we couldn't do it. Like, there were just a lot of times where she wanted to buy it for me. And so I just never ended up buying it. And then she gave it to me for Christmas this year. And I am, I don't know, like 3 hours in, like not that far in. But it's so funny. One of the things that I was thinking about for this list was Tears of the Kingdom for Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
And I really have enjoyed my time in Tears of the Kingdom. Between me and my son, we have over 200 hours in Tears of the Kingdom. And you might say to yourself, Spencer, that must be in your top 5 things this year. It's absolutely not.
I was kind of surprised that it wasn't.
It's absolutely not. And the thing is like, it's not that it's bad. It just has all the same problems of the first game. Like, everything I didn't like about about Breath of the Wild is not only is it in there, but some of them are actually made worse on purpose. Like they think it's a feature, not a bug type of thing. And it's horrible. Like the weapon system. And what's funny is that is I'm only like 3 or I may be 5 hours into the game for Jedi Survivor. But I'm already, like, they already have done nothing but improve the things that I liked about the previous game, and then added Spider-Man whipping to it. Like, you get a grappling hook where you can grapple. Like, what in the world?
Well, that's cool.
Like,
that's cool.
You know what? Like, I could probably tell you some of them, Paddy, because you played the first one this year. What have I told you?
I did.
You can now fast travel to save points from other save points.
So you don't have to go back to the ship every time?
No. That's
nice.
Yeah. Well, what if I told you that, like, when you're running across the wall, you can jump to hit the wall again to keep running. I mean, if you
did you not do that in the first one?
No. You only had like a certain.
Oh.
I mean, once you had your double jump, you had a second jump, but you can just keep like. Anyway, everything you loved about the movement is improved. And then also they got rid of the ending part that's super OP. So one of my problems with the first game is that at the end, like when you can switch between all 3 of your stances during battle, you are so OP. Like no enemy can stand up to you because you can just go defensive, offensive, mid. Like you just switch between them so fast. And in this game, you can only pick 2 stances, and then each individual lightsaber stance has its own abilities. So if you use skill points in each of them, Like it improves the parts that made the game too easy. It improves the movement, and then it makes the parts of the game that were tedious less tedious. It's like the opposite of what Tears of the Kingdom did in a lot of ways. So, and then also like it's just already a heartfelt story. Like I'm only this far in, and can I give a little spoiler? Do you care?
Yeah, go ahead.
So
I don't know if the audience cares. I can.
Yeah, it's a little spoiler. Like if you haven't played Jedi Survivor yet, and you don't want any spoilers, it is the first hour of the game. So I'm going to spoil. The very beginning of the game, you end up on Coruscant, and you go through all these missions with these people. You go through these missions, and like you meet this crew, and then the crew all immediately dies.
Jeez. Okay.
So like, and what's so funny is like I'm the type of person in a video game like, okay, like go talk to your crew members and get to know them, right? So like you go talk to them, you like do this stuff, and then they die like literally 15 seconds later.
You sat through all those conversations.
Dude, just like 15 seconds later. And a lot of people are like, well, what a waste of time. And to me, that's good storytelling. So I just...
Oh, wow.
So, it's only as low on my list because, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll end up being like, off the list. Maybe it'll be like, this game ended up sucking. But it also was like nominated for like, awards during the Game Awards, other awards, stuff like that. So that's my number 3. I cannot wait to finish it. What about you, Paddy B?
Yeah, so my number 3 was actually one of your honorable mentions. But it's kind of more of the whole, just like the fact that this encapsulated all of 2023, just with the Eras Tour, how it was just a culture movement, the concert, the movie, everything. If you didn't care about Taylor Swift before, you cared about her in 2023. Which I got introduced to a lot of her works this year through my wife and the people that I work with over at Kayfabe, who are just diehard Swifties. And so, yeah, I think that just the way that she was able to just take over the world even more, winning harder this year, that put her at my number 3, the Eras Tour.
Yeah, I think there's like a couple notable things here, and like we don't. What's so funny is like music was one of the things when I came up with like Heezy and Paddy and like the things that I want to do videos on. One of the things that I wanted to talk about a lot was like pop punk music and like stuff like that. And it was really funny when asked this year who her biggest inspiration was. One of the things that Taylor mentions is Fall Out Boy. Like their lyrics are what inspires the way that her cadences and like the way that she writes and things like that. And it's so funny because like if you ever like notice a lot of Taylor songs can go like into like you can do like a pop punk version of them and it fits really well. And obviously like we saw what happened with Blank Space when that happened and like stuff like that. But I love it, man. Did you go to the Eras Tour?
No, I was a poor boy. I was a poor boy in 2023. Dude, I couldn't afford it.
Me too. My wife's going next year. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, she's gonna go to. I think she's doing it in Louisiana. I'm gonna go and not go to the concert because I don't have a ticket. But
gotcha. Just be there for her. You'll be at a parking lot party.
I've actually never been to New Orleans before, so I'm just going to go to New Orleans.
Oh yeah. Don't go to Bourbon Street.
Why?
It's just gross.
I'll probably go.
There's like urine and vomit everywhere. Yeah, it's not good.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to number 2. My number 2 I'm actually shocked that this is my number 2. Like looking at my list, it might be my number 1. Number 1 and number 2 were really close. There's a reason, but my number 2 is My Hero season 6. I won't go into spoilers, but it is definitely the season that made me cry the most since season 1. And co-host of it might have been Christmas. I think it was co-host of Constructive Criticism. Abe Stein is Jewish, so during Christmas he was binging this because he doesn't have anything else to do. But he's like, dude, holy crap, this season is insane. And there were 2 episodes specifically that we talked about. And one of them, you haven't seen any of My Hero, right, Paddy?
I've watched season 1 and bits of season 2.
Okay,
halfway through season 2.
So season 6 has an arc called My Villain Academia, where they flash back to the villain side and they go through their past and how they became villains and what that looks like. And some of those episodes are completely soul crushing, to the point where one of them, I didn't even know if I wanted to watch the show anymore. It was one of, if not the saddest thing I've ever watched in my entire life. And it's not, actually. I already know it's not the saddest thing that I've ever watched. Don't watch I Am Sam, people, by the way. That's the saddest movie of all time. Anyway, and then there's like a moment for Uraraka that is also just heartwarming and heart-wrenching. It is... It's funny. People really love to love things when they're coming up, and then once they're at their peak, right? Once something becomes the most popular, as My Hero has done, becoming the most popular and beloved anime right now, people now are like, it's cool to hate it and hate what comes out, and I think it's really hard to hate season 6 of My Hero. I think that it is one of the best seasons of anime I've ever watched. And there's a lot of payoff. There's a sharp transition. A lot happens. Like everything from the it's hard to have those transitions where like everything from the first 5 seasons, you are now in a new world. Like it's just a different environment now. But I thought that they did it really well. So I don't want to spoil it, because I think that, we will, whether it's you or if I find guests to do the rest of My Hero, like it is going to happen on the show. So,
for sure.
Same though. You can't spoil your next one for me, because I gotta watch it.
I know. It's so hard. Because this was one of the. I mean, if you liked Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you're gonna love Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think a lot of the points that you made about like Jedi Survivor apply to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Like things that they did well in the first one, they did really well in the second one. And yeah, it's really hard to talk about this without spoiling it. You get to see a lot more of the conflict.
You see a lot more Spider-Man
that Miles goes through. There are so many more Spider-Men. Like, yeah.
What's so funny? Like,
there's a lot.
Obviously, I'm on TikTok, right? So, like, I've seen some things for this movie.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things is like, we go from the previous Spider-Man movie from the MCU. But it's like, oh my gosh, all the Spider-Men are here. To the next one, Sony, and they're like, no. Now all the Spider-Men are here.
Yeah. Well, it's all your live action friends, and then they did it, yeah, in animation form, which is great. Like,
what if we do this? Because I don't want you to
see
feel
some
like
really exotic spider people.
I don't want you to feel like you can't talk. So look, can I just ask you questions?
Yeah, sure.
Who's your favorite character?
it's hard to not say Miles, but there's a lot that Gwen goes through where it dives into her past a bunch.
Sure.
And like the ghosts that she's
Dealing with.
being followed by. Yeah. So probably Gwen. Yeah.
I think it's
Gwen.
public knowledge. I don't think this is a spoiler. Like, is it weird to have the villain be the hero?
Yes. I have to dance around that carefully.
No, it's okay. Like,
because yes,
that's okay.
Yeah. So Spider-Man 2099 is the hero and the villain, but like he's not the only one who that
applies to.
Applies to. They do it in a couple different ways. So
okay.
Yeah.
Is it better than the first one?
I liked the first one better, but that doesn't mean that this one wasn't great and was not worthy of top 2 for this year's
sure
mentions.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to go into my number 1, unless you have anything else you want to say. I feel like you're dancing around real hard here, so I don't want to. I don't want to break.
It's okay.
I don't want to break your toes. I appreciate it, right? Like, you know how much Spider-Man means to me.
Yeah.
And you're trying to.
Yes.
You're trying to be nice to me, so I appreciate it. I apologize to the listeners. It's actually one of my goals for 2024. It was actually something that we're gonna. Our next podcast, I haven't talked to Paddy yet, but it will be talking about like our nerddom goals for the next year. One of them, there will be a TikTok that at least I record for this podcast, talking about my honorable mentions, at least for this on our TikTok. And like, one of them is to see more movies. Like I've really fallen behind. I have the support of my wife. Like, I could have seen Blue Beetle. I could have seen the Mario movie. But just like the anxiety of leaving my wife alone with my kids was too much for me this year. And I now don't have that fear and that anxiety, and I'm excited for that. So, my number 1 is Wild, because do you know, Petty B, do you know that there are sports animes?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah. So right now,
anime can be about anything.
Yeah,
so,
animes can be about
that are like sports themed.
Absolutely anything. One of the best considered, one of the highest rated animes of all time is called Haiku. It's an anime of a volleyball team. It's like one of the most beloved animes ever. My son and I right now are watching a basketball anime on Netflix, English dub.
That's cool. Yeah. He's playing a lot of basketball right now.
He's in junior jazz right now. However, my son's first love is soccer. For those who don't know, my son, in a game last season, in his last soccer season, scored 13 goals in one game. I wish that I was exaggerating, because but I'm not, and it's gone to his head a lot. He thinks he's a lot better at soccer than he is, but he did in fact score 13 goals in one game. He obliterated another team just soloed a team. I think the score was like 18-1 or something. Anyway, so his first love is soccer. He loves it. It's winter right now. He wants, we did not get in time for indoor soccer, and he wants to play soccer. There's a soccer anime that just recently came out called Blue Lock. It has 1 season. I'm just going to give the premise of this and talk about why it's so interesting. So, it takes place in Japan, where Japan, as you probably might know, does not have the best men's national team. Their women's team is quite good. Their men's national team has struggled in the World Cup for at least my entire lifetime, Paddy B. I can't think of a time where they were that much better than the U.S. Like, we just both don't have very good soccer teams. And yeah, both of our women's teams are really good. Anyway, so this sets up Blue Lock Academy to create the world's best striker. So somebody who is designed to make goals in a game of soccer, to create their own shot, make their own shot. And it starts off rough. Like, it was recommended to me by Mason Clark and Abe Stein from Constructive Criticism to watch with Maxwell. And I think we're on like episode 3, and I was like, dude, I really don't like what this is teaching Maxwell, because this is not his problem in soccer. And Mason's like, keep watching. And we finished season 1, and it's a really good show when you get to the end of a season of a show that you don't know how many seasons there are, where you immediately want to watch the next episode. And Maxwell and I were both massively disappointed to learn that this show came out this year, and there's only one season. It was fantastic. We watched the dub. I thought the dub was great. A lot of times anime dubs can be a little cheesy. I say that, but I've also watched subs. They're also cheesy. And I don't know. I thought that the writing was good. It's just campy enough. It does a really good job of like almost being a shonen style tournament anime the entire time, while also being, I don't know, about self-improvement, about breaking your barriers. It's very good at what it's trying to be, and I like that it's not trying to be more than it is. Anime is a really good medium for this type of stuff. And I getting to watch this with my son this year was like easily my number one highlight. Like, he asked me every day if we got up and watch an episode of Blue Lock at the end of the year. And like, there were not every night that I could do that. So, and my wife makes fun of me because like, I don't binge watch TV shows. Like, I just don't. It's not. Sure. It's just not how I roll. And so Maxwell does, but he wasn't allowed to do it, and it made him more excited, more patient. And it was fantastic.
Well, yeah, he's grown up in the era of binging, so that makes sense. Like, that used to be how we just watched TV shows. It was like once every and then waiting.
I have a problem with your number one, and I want you to say your number one, and then I want to talk about it.
Okay.
What's your number one?
Barbenheimer.
Okay, that's not a thing. That's a thing that people did because it was funny. But like, I gotta like legitimately ask you.
People made shirts for it. Yeah.
No, I want to actually know. Did watching 2 movies in one day that were so opposite actually improve the experience? Did you have time to digest either film?
I loved both of those films, and it was super fun to go out and go to the movies. It was the thing that brought people back to the movies, and I loved it.
Dude,
it was
a
great time.
I've done the movie thing, right? Like, I remember I saw Up 13 times in theaters. Like, I get the movie experience. Wow. I think I saw Stick It like 5 times in theaters. Like, I get. Did we not do that yet this year? We gotta do that.
We have not done it.
We both watched it, didn't we?
I got it. No, I could.
You haven't watched it yet.
It was on our.
Okay.
No,
we gotta do Stick It this year. We gotta do Barbie too. I'm sure, but yeah. I maybe this is me. So coach me, teach me here, Patty B.
Okay.
Watching, from my understanding, 2 movies with actual messages in one day seems hard. Like, that seems like a monumental task.
Yes, it was a large commitment.
How were your emotions? Which one did you watch first?
Oppenheimer.
Okay.
So
I don't know if that's better or worse.
you had to watch Oppenheimer first. No, you had to watch Oppenheimer first because you felt really down and bad, and then Barbie brought you back up.
Did it though?
Like you felt good watching Barbie's Lady. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So was it like a spiritual experience? Like I just gotta understand. I don't understand it. Like, for one, I haven't seen either of these movies. I know what both these movies are about. Barbie's been pretty.
They're now both on Prime.
Yeah,
you can watch Oppenheimer now too.
So for what it's worth, they've both been spoiled for me. I know what happens in both these movies. I don't understand. Like, I don't know. Maybe I need to do it. Maybe I need to like take my kids to the daycare, have Devin there take a vacation day, and we just Barbieheimer it because like I just don't like. You're not the only one that did this of my friends, for what it's worth. And, like, people talk about it like, I mean, one, it was like a cultural event, right? So I think that helps with this. But I just can't imagine watching these movies back to back.
And it was fun to nerd out about both of them together, like, with other people. Like, the reason it's kind of number one, too, is, like, because it was the cultural movement thing, like, you got to nerd out about these two films with people that you'd never meet, right? So, because a lot of times, like you'd go see the same showings, right? You would just like migrate over,
right?
So
I gotta. You can talk about the films. Like, what is that? What was number one? Is it the cultural experience and the? That's what
it was the experience
one.
Of nerding. It was like really nerding out about those two movies with people, and the experience. Which both movies were great, by the way, and I kind of smushed them together, right? Because which one's better? Don't do this to me. Why can't you do this to me? I should have known this is coming.
Can I say it differently?
Probably Barbie. Yeah.
If you were to erase one of these movies from your head and watch it again for the first time, which one would you pick?
Oh, it would be Barbie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I loved Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie as I think it was perfectly cast. And
I love to hear that.
And I wish I had it. It's in the wash right now, but that was one of my Christmas presents. Was Shelby ordered it for me like months and months and months ago. It didn't get here. The hoodie, the I am Kenough hoodie. But it's not a traditional hood. It's like that really like fuzzy curly fabric. Nice. Yeah. No, it'd be. I deliberated a lot, but it was actually Barbie.
That's dope. Anything else from 2023 that we should mention before we wrap up?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Like I know yours were not all like a lot of TV shows and games, and mine was all movies. So I think we kind of covered a lot of the spectrum.
Yeah, I tried to.
They should let us know if we missed something.
Yeah, I tried to fit in stuff like I mentioned Tears of the Kingdom, just stuff that like I haven't done, right? Baldur's Gate 3, I haven't played it.
Oh, yeah, me either.
Diablo
that might have ended up there.
Diablo, I did do, and you don't want my opinion on it.
Oh.
I don't know. I think that like it was a really good year for video games. To the point where stuff like Starfield was a disappointment for me. Like, in a lot of years, like, if I had played Starfield, it would have been like, this is one of the best games ever made. And, gotcha. Instead I spent 200 hours on a game that didn't even make my list.
Sure.
So. And then as far as, like, anime goes, anime's at an all-time high, man. Like, it's absolutely fantastic.
That's probably on my list. I think it was on my list last year of things I need to do more of.
What's so funny? What's so funny is I really struggled to find. Rom-coms. I actually sent them like a signal for rom-coms to watch, because like they just didn't exist. They just don't exist anymore. And there's like a lot of reasons for that. But we might do a podcast on one day or a video about like how the Marvel MCU changed what type of movies people are willing to make. But like rom-coms don't happen anymore. And
there's one that just came out that looks pretty interesting.
Well, you better tell me about that one because I'm a huge rom-com guy.
It's titled Anyone But You.
Oh,
it's got Sydney Sweeney and the guy from Glenn Powell.
I've only seen 3,000 commercials about that, so maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then another one is like just family, like I don't know how to explain this genre, like the Friends, New Girl, the How I Met Your Mother style TV comedies,
TV show,
like American Housewife was like our new one that we watched for a couple of years there. That they had cast changes and stuff, and I'm not really looking for like I don't know. 2023 was weird where it feels like some of the things that I love are getting phased out for newer audiences. So, but
yeah, that's interesting.
Paddy, if you got nothing else to say, you know what you did say is what the listeners can do, which is leave a YouTube comment, leave, shoot us an email, heezymedia@gmail.com. Let us know, like, is there something that you think we missed? Is there something that you want to hear about? We got to plan our next little while of episodes. Like I said, next episode, we'll be talking about 2024, things that we're looking forward to, stuff like that. But let us know what you're looking forward to, what you think we missed. And, Paddy B, where can people find you?
Yes, they can find me on Twitter X at PaddyBMTG, as well as find us on the Heezy Game TikTok.
Are you going to record a TikTok for this episode?
Yeah. Yes.
I might leave that in the show just because it was funny that you, like, the beginning of your sneeze made the podcast, but you muted yourself for the end of your sneeze. It was, like, comedic. I don't know.
It came suddenly. We're on the rise. We're not all the way back yet. But
we'll see what happens.
We're getting there.
We'll see what happens. I don't know that I sneezed during the vid. You can find me at Heezy Media. I will be doing a TikTok every week for this show. Every week for CCMTG. Those are at, I don't know the CCMTG one, but it's at Heezy Media for our show.
Right.
And honestly, like the way that I see it is that it's behind the scenes content. Like the TikTok is for like people that are like, oh, I like this podcast. I like, it's additional content and behind the scenes. So it's like, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to spend a TikTok talking about, the Eras Tour movie and about the Mario movie. So, like, subscribe, and review. Leave a comment. Those are the best ways to support the show. Paddy B, I hope you feel better soon, man. Congratulations again on your fantasy football championship. And
thank you.
Tell Shelby congrats on her second place for me. And we'll see everybody.
I would like to hear that, but yeah.
Next week on another episode of the Need to Nerd podcast.